What love stories had hid this old French home? A French couple had pursued research into their home in a small French village for 2 years. They got to find out not only the history of the building, but also some interesting people who live there. Sometimes, you have no idea what story the place you live in has. Stephanie Dyson Heydrich was a scientist specializing in chemical engineering. However, her very engaging hobby was history and everything connected to it. In 2004, she and her husband Mike Dyson bought a new house in Le Chiron, between Aubusson and Guéret in Charisse, living there only for weekends and holidays. In 2016, they decided to move there permanently from Cambridgeshire. Stephanie started investigating her family tree in Sweden and her husband's tree in England. This hunt took her all over Northern Europe, which was quite interesting and adventurous. We read an article in The Connection about researching your property's history, and I thought immediately that it was such an interesting thing to do, said Stephanie. All the houses in their village were built of granite stone and oak beams. They were all old, but the couple didn't know exactly how old their home was. It made them extremely curious to find out even more details. Their home is located a little way from the rest of the village while standing on a slope. A part of it has 4 floors, while also having a barn and a stable within the structure. Fortunately, the home was in the Cadastre Napoleon of 1812, a detailed property map of France ordered by Napoleon I in 1807, which was finished in 1850. It creates the basis of the cadastry plans used for all property deals. Thanks to it, Stephanie managed to find the house's first owner using notary's records, court records of wills, and property lists. Antoine Nebeau was the first owner of the house, who was born in 1761 and who, at 25, got into a legal argument because he wanted to marry a woman his father wasn't in favor of. He took the case to the local lord's court, and the lord requested 2 notaries to inquire about it and compose a report. Luckily for him and his beloved girl Magdalene Rodier, they got married without parental approval. It is probably because of this dispute that the house is built a little away from the rest of the village, said Stephanie. We were also unable to find a marriage certificate in the village church, which means they probably had to go somewhere else to marry. The woman didn't also manage to find any bills or information about the actual building of the house. However, Antoine was a mason and a carpenter, so he could do all of the construction work himself with the help of his brothers and friends. Antoine Nebeau died in 1844, and his house inherited his second wife. The first one passed away a few years before the man, and then her sister. The second wife was named Antoinette Florand, who was 28 years younger than Antoine and was born in 1789. She was probably the last to be called Antoinette for a while, Stephanie commented. She got married once again, that time to a man 11 years younger than her. However, Antoinette made sure in the wedding contract that the house would go to her sister after her death, not to her husband. All the documents correlating with the inheritance cover inventories of things of value, even including 2 pairs of shoes and 3 pairs of stockings. This part of the Creuse is one of the most sparsely populated parts of France, said Stephanie. Even then, when the commune was 400 people and not the 100 there are today, it was a poor, thinly populated area, and the inventories show how precious things that we take for granted now were to people then. Antoine Nebeau did not die a rich man. When the first owner's family passed away, there were a lot of different owners, most of whom were in the building trade as masons and carpenters like the original owner. Yet there was one occupant who was one of 2 mayors of the commune who lived in the house. He worked as a watchmaker whose mission was to repair the bell tower of the village commandery, the building initially constructed by the Knights Templar as a local garrison. After the Templars were suppressed, it was run by the Knights of Malta. When he passed away, his daughter, who was also a watchmaker, came back to the village from Paris and carried on the family business. The presence of the commandery led to the fact Le Chiron was an important village in the 14th century. However, the soldier nights faded away, new roads were built, and the building fell into pieces. There are found stones scavenged from it, many with carvings, in a lot of the houses in the village. During World War II, the owner of this house lived somewhere else while the refugees were using it from fighting and the German occupation. Until the 1980s, an old man lived in it and paid for the rent in cash, as well as in a number of potatoes and cut wood. 2 years before Stephanie and Mike bought the house, there was a major restoration made, but the people has been still able to track down the evolution of the floor plan over the years. That in itself is interesting, especially as everything did not change very much over the centuries, but it is the human aspects we have found for the house, the village, and the wider area which really make it interesting for me, recalled Stephanie.